Hey Veritas, I'm just making a response to your video, The Presumption of Atheism Moving Along. I was going to make a response to one of your earlier ones in the series, but I decided to make it again on this one since you don't want people to be doing it on the other ones. But thing is, I want to uh, address uh, your idea of uh, like evidence and how it should be used um, in uh, context of God. Uh, and so I guess I'll address your later point first, talking about absence of evidence and whether or not it is evidence of absence um, for a God. And I think that uh, it really depends on the God claim. And for specific gods, it may apply. And the kind of gods that I'm thinking of are gods that have measurable effects on reality. Um, for example, uh, things like uh, if you take the Christian God, for example, I, I don't know the verse, but I've heard it, hundreds of times. Hundreds of times. The If you have as much faith as a mustard seed, which I presume is a small amount of faith, you and another should be able to move a mountain if you pray to God to do so, which is a measurable thing. You can actually measure whether or not that effect happens, and we don't see that evidence uh, of of the Christian God, and I also think it's evidence of absence because if the Christian God existed and did everything that he says he will do in the Bible, then he would do the things that he would do in the Bible. If not, um, this is not necessarily evidence of absence of any gods, but it is evidence of absence for that specific God. Um, and I think this is where you're getting tripped up in a lot of things, especially when we were talking back when you were talking about um, weak versus strong or negative versus positive atheism, because uh, from an atheist perspective, uh, essentially, we're looking at God claims given to us by theists and evaluating them, which I think is the different. You're looking at it a different way than we do, in the fact that uh, you're looking at it as there's a God and I'm trying to prove it to you. Um, and but I think what you want to do right now, changing people into strong atheists, uh, is to like uh, be able to essentially say to them, "Oh, well, you're saying there are no gods, so but how can you make that claim of knowledge?" Um, but the thing is, no one actually believes that. So I think it's a straw man, maybe not a deliberate straw man, but it's a straw man nonetheless. Um, but there might be some people, but most atheists will say that they simply don't believe in most gods, and the other uh, the other things is that they don't believe in or but for example myself I would say that most gods I don't believe in simply I just don't believe in them, but in for other gods like the Christian God or the Muslim God I would say that I actually uh, actively think that they don't exist. Um, and in fact, I think that they are impossible to exist um, because of inconsistent attributes, um, which is one of the reasons, or and one of the ways that and one of the reasons that I think this is the problem of evil. Um, because the existence, or if you have the God or a God, which I believe both the Muslim and the Christian gods are, which has the three attributes, um, omnipotence, uh, omnibenevolence, and omnipresence, then uh, the existence of evil um, is impossible. Now, of course, the standard rebuttal to this is free will or whatever, but this doesn't apply to things like birth defects or tsunamis. I'm, of course, stealing this from Matt Dillahunty of the Atheist Experience, but anyway, those specific examples. But if if you take those specific examples, those are uh, problems which aren't affected by people, aren't affected by free will as a result, and therefore um, could be stopped by God. And if you're saying that your God has these three properties, um, which you are, I'm pretty sure, uh, then you don't have um, a, or then I don't think that your God can exist. Uh, Now, let me just enforce here. This doesn't mean that I think that no gods can exist, just gods with these three properties. Um, and uh, that's that's just one argument. There are at least five or six others that are fairly good against other types of gods, but there's one against your god in particular. Uh, but then the final thing is you should reevaluate maybe the way that you're saying some of these things from an atheist perspective, so that you understand why we say the things that we do, um, so that you can better respond to them.